Chosen one, listen closely, because what I'm about to speak into your spirit carries the weight of a shift you've been sensing, but couldn't yet name. Something in your life is turning. Something in the unseen is rearranging itself with precision. And even if the world around you looks the same, heaven has already taken its first step toward balancing the scales on your behalf. You are standing in the early light of divine justice, and nothing that rose against you will remain unaddressed. Nothing that tried to bury you will stay hidden. Nothing that tried to break you will escape the hand of the one and who saw it all. You're here in this moment because God is about to settle something that has followed you for far too long. You've endured quiet battles, wounds no one acknowledged, betrayals nobody apologized for, losses no one offered to help you carry. You walked through seasons where people thought they got away with what they did to you. Seasons where your silence was mistaken for weakness. Seasons where your humility was misread as defeat. But heaven kept the records. Heaven has been watching. And now the one who judges with perfect vision is stepping forward. You may not fully realize it yet, but you've crossed an invisible line in the spirit. The warfare against you intensified for a reason. The delays stretched longer than expected for a reason. The pressure you felt these past months wasn't random. It was the final tremor before the scales begin to tip. God is not only bringing justice to your situation, He is restoring the dignity, the peace, the opportunities, and the time that was taken from you. What felt like loss is about to return as divine recompense. And here's what you must understand. This justice is not about punishment. It is about balance. It is about alignment. It is about heaven correcting what earth tried to distort. You've been waiting, praying, questioning, enduring, and God has seen each moment with a tenderness the world never offered you. The shift begins now. The scales are moving, and you're about to witness God deal with what dealt with you. Stay with me, because in the next moments you will understand why everything happened the way it did, why the injustice lingered, and why God waited until now to speak. Something sacred is unfolding around your life, and you're right in the center of it. Because the truth is, this justice is not an idea, not a concept, not a vague hope you cling to when life feels unfair. Justice is a movement of God. It is a deliberate act of His character, a revelation of His nature, a demonstration of His faithfulness. And when He decides it's time to intervene, nothing can delay Him, nothing can distract Him, and nothing can stand in His way. That is the certainty rising over your life right now. What's unfolding around you didn't come from human effort or coincidence. This isn't the result of luck shifting in your favor. This is the hand of the one who has watched every injustice with a holy stillness, waiting for the exact moment when the unfolding of His plan would reveal not only His protection over you, but His authority within you. For God does not simply fix situations. He shapes destinies. He aligns events. He orchestrates outcomes that reveal who truly holds the final word. There is a reason this message found you now, at this exact point in your journey. Heaven does not speak without intention. The Spirit does not stir without purpose. You're hearing this because God has already issued a command in the unseen, and the ripple of that command is reaching toward your life like a wave of holy correction. The imbalance that once weighed against you is being confronted. The silence that once surrounded you is being broken. God is declaring with unmistakable clarity that enough is enough. For so long you carried what others dismissed or minimized. You endured wrongs that no one acknowledged. You stood in places where your truth was overshadowed by louder voices, stronger personalities, or manipulative intentions. Yet through all of it, heaven never once lost sight of you. And now, the one who knows every motive, every secret, every hidden intention is stepping into your story with the authority of a righteous judge. Not to condemn you, but to vindicate you. Not to shame your enemies, but to correct what has been out of order. Feel the weight of this. God is not acting because you cried out in frustration. He is acting because your season has shifted. He is acting because your purpose requires alignment. He is acting because the next chapter of your life cannot begin until the scales are balanced. Divine justice is not simply about the past. It is preparation for what lies ahead. You're moving into territory where old injustices cannot follow old wounds, cannot limit you, and old narratives cannot define you. This intervention is holy. It is intentional. It is precise. God does not swing wildly. He moves with accuracy. And right now He is placing His hand on the very areas of your life that have carried imbalance, areas that drained you, discouraged you, delayed you, and tried to distort your identity. Those places are being reset. Those weights are being lifted. Those chains are being broken. So as this message unfolds, open your spirit. Let your heart listen beyond the natural. What is happening is bigger than your emotions and deeper than your understanding. You are stepping into a revelation that carries the fingerprints of God Himself. And every word you're about to hear is meant to prepare you for what He is setting in motion. And here is where the revelation begins to unfold. With greater clarity, the scales in your life are not just shifting. They are tilting in your favor. What once leaned heavily against you is being lifted. What once drained your strength is being overturned. What once felt immovable is beginning to crack under the pressure of God's decree. The season ahead of you will not resemble the season behind you, because the spiritual weight that once resisted your progress is losing its authority. There is a holy reversal taking place. Not a simple correction, not a small adjustment, but a sweeping rearrangement that carries the signature of divine intervention. You're stepping into a period where what was hidden comes to light. What was stolen returns, and what was delayed accelerates toward you. Justice for you will not appear as a single moment. It will unfold as a series of divine movements, each one revealing another piece of what God has been preparing behind the scenes. For months, some of you for years, you felt as though life was tilted to one side, as if everything required extraordinary effort, while others seemed to advance with ease. You endured situations where the truth was twisted, where your good intentions were misunderstood, where your character was questioned, or where your value was overlooked. You were placed in environments where people benefited from your loyalty, but gave nothing in return. These imbalances were not random. They were markers of a spiritual tension building toward a divine conclusion. That is what is breaking open now. God is about to expose what was done in darkness. He is about to reveal motives, shift atmospheres, and dismantle structures that were designed to suppress you. But He is not doing it to humiliate anyone. He is doing it to free you. Your destiny demands clarity, and justice is the cleansing storm that clears the path ahead. Picture this in your spirit, a massive set of scales suspended above your life. For so long, one side has sagged under the pressure of burdens you didn't choose. The weight of betrayal, disappointment, spiritual warfare, false assumptions, withheld opportunities, unspoken apologies. These things accumulated little by little. But now, there is movement. The scales that once seemed frozen are beginning to rise on your side. You can almost hear the faint creaking of metal bending under the force of God's intervention. This is not imagination. It is spiritual reality translating into your physical world. There is coming a moment when you will look back and realize that the season of injustice was not a sign of abandonment, but a setup for elevation. You were not being ignored. You were being prepared. You were not being punished. You were being positioned. You were not being overlooked. You were being observed by heaven until the appointed time, and that appointed time is approaching swiftly. In the days ahead, you may begin to notice subtle shifts, doors opening without effort, situations turning unexpectedly, people who once opposed you becoming silent or being moved out of the way. Not through your striving, but through God's design. You will see conversations surface that expose truth. You will see opportunities emerge that restore what was withheld. You will see relationships realign as God reveals who truly walks with integrity and who is only attached to your vulnerability. This prophecy is not about revenge. It is about restoration. It is about God returning you to the center of His intention for your life. Justice in the kingdom does not merely correct wrongs. It repositions chosen ones for fulfillment. It lifts them into environments where their gifts are recognized. Their voice is honored, and their purpose is allowed to flourish. For some, justice will come in the form of closure, finally understanding what happened, why it happened, and why God allowed it. For others, it will come as vindication, your name being cleared, your value being affirmed, your truth being acknowledged. And for many, justice will come as opportunity. Doors opening that once seemed sealed, resources flowing where there once was drought. People stepping into your life who carry genuine alignment with your calling. Hear this deeply: the imbalance in your life was never meant to last. It was only meant to reveal who you are, refine your spirit, and anchor your dependence in God. Now the tide is turning. The prophecy unfolding over you is one of divine balance, divine timing, and divine fulfillment. You are entering a chapter where heaven's order becomes visible in your circumstances. The scales are moving, the weight is shifting, the story is changing, and the justice you've long awaited is stepping into your reality with undeniable force. What's happening in your life right now cannot be understood purely through logic or emotion, because divine justice is not merely a response to circumstances. It is a spiritual realignment that touches the deepest layers of identity, destiny, and timing. To grasp the magnitude of this shift, you must see beyond the events and look into the spiritual architecture beneath them. Justice is not a reaction. Justice is a revelation. It reveals what God values, what He protects, and what He refuses to let remain distorted in the life of someone He has chosen. Every injustice you experienced carried a spiritual purpose, though the pain often clouded the meaning. When people dismissed you, heaven was clarifying your worth. When others took advantage of you, God was training your discernment. When doors closed, He was redirecting your steps toward places where your value would not be ignored. When betrayal or deception surfaced, He was showing you who could not remain in the story. He's writing for your future. In this way, injustice becomes a strange kind of teacher. It reveals who you are by revealing who you are not meant to walk with. It exposes the motives of others so that when God elevates you, you will not carry the wrong people with you into the next dimension of your assignment. The wounds you endured were not meaningless. They were spiritual markers pointing toward what needed to be removed, healed, or transformed before the fullness of your purpose could unfold. And now that the refining is complete, justice steps in as the great equalizer, restoring what was lost, while simultaneously preparing you for what is coming. Think of your life as a garden. In some seasons, the soil must be broken before new growth can take root. Stones have to be removed. Weeds have to be uprooted. Old plants have to be pruned. The breaking feels destructive, but it is actually preparing the ground for abundance. Justice is the rain that follows the pruning. It is the nourishment that causes new life to emerge. The scales tipping in your favor symbolize much more than correction. They represent the return of spiritual momentum. For too long, you walked through seasons where the weight of injustice slowed your progress, clouded your confidence, or drained your energy. You felt spiritually tangled, emotionally exhausted, mentally stretched. You kept going, but the ground beneath you felt heavy. Justice breaks that heaviness. It restores the flow of divine movement. It lifts the burdens that should never have been placed on you. It frees your spirit to rise again. This is why the shift feels different now. Not because your circumstances have fully changed yet, but because the spiritual climate around you has. You're no longer walking against the wind. You're beginning to walk with it. The resistance that once pushed against your purpose is weakening, because God is reclaiming territory that was occupied by confusion, delay, or opposition. Like dawn pushing back the night, divine justice begins, in the unseen before it becomes visible. And you're standing right in that sacred threshold, where light begins to take form. There is also a deeper layer to this unveiling. God is not just balancing the scales for your situation. He is balancing the scales within your heart. The places that were wounded are being healed. The parts of you that were discouraged are being strengthened. The confidence that was shaken is being rebuilt. Justice is not merely an external act. It is a spiritual restoration of who you are on the inside. You are being lifted back into alignment with your original identity, strong, focused, seen, chosen, protected. Consider storms. They appear destructive, but they clear old debris, shift the landscape, and purify the air. Justice carries that same energy. It removes what cannot remain. It shifts what must be repositioned. It purifies the path ahead. After a storm, the world feels new, the sky clearer, the ground refreshed, the air lighter. You are approaching that kind of clarity in your spiritual life. The turbulence was not the end. It was the cleansing. And now the atmosphere around your destiny is changing. Many of the delays you faced were never due to incapability or lack of preparation. They were battles in the unseen between truth and deception, between divine intention and human interference, between your calling and the forces that tried to suppress it. When God brings justice, He resolves these clashes. He breaks the influence of what once hindered you. He releases your life from entanglements you didn't even fully recognize were affecting you. He sets things straight in ways you could not have achieved on your own. And so the deeper meaning of this prophetic moment is this: justice is the doorway to your next level. It is the spiritual clearing that allows new instructions, new opportunities, and new favor to enter your life without obstruction. You are not just being compensated, you are being prepared. You are not just being vindicated, you are being positioned. You are not just being healed, you are being realigned with the story God always intended to write through your life. Justice is not the end of what God is doing. It is the beginning. As the scales begin to shift in your favor, there will be signs, quiet at first, subtle enough to miss if your spirit isn't attentive, yet undeniable once you recognize them. These signs are not random coincidences. They are divine indicators, spiritual footprints revealing that heaven has already begun its work on your behalf. If you've been asking God for confirmation, clarity, or assurance, these signs will speak directly to your spirit. They will feel strangely familiar, as if you've been waiting for them without knowing it. The first sign is the sudden weight lifting off your inner being. Not all at once, and not in a dramatic flash, but a gradual lightness that begins in your chest and spreads into your thoughts. You'll notice you're not carrying the same emotional heaviness that once pressed against your days. The wound still exists, but it no longer defines the rhythm of your spirit. This lightening is not emotional drift. It is a spiritual release. God lifts burdens before He lifts circumstances because He wants you to feel freedom before you see it. The second sign is the shift in relational dynamics. People who once misunderstood you will begin to fall silent in their resistance. Others who once dismissed your presence will suddenly treat you with unexpected respect or caution. Some individuals may distance themselves without explanation. Do not misread this. Justice often reveals hearts before it rearranges circumstances. When God balances the scales, He exposes motives not to shame, but to clarify who can remain in your next season and who cannot walk with the elevation that awaits you. The third sign is unexpected clarity. Where confusion once clouded your decisions, a new sense of direction will begin to rise. You'll find yourself understanding situations that baffled you for months. You'll gain insight into why certain things happened and why certain doors closed. This clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from the Holy Spirit lifting the fog that once blurred your path. Divine justice clears the mind as much as it clears circumstances. The fourth sign is divine timing accelerating. Things that once took months may unfold in days. Delayed conversations suddenly reopen. Opportunities that were stagnant begin to move. You will witness small but significant breakthroughs, moments that tell you God is adjusting the pace of your life. This acceleration is not coincidence. It is rebalancing. Justice not only restores what was lost, it restores the time that was stolen. The fifth sign is the inner knowing that something is about to change. You may not have evidence yet, but your spirit feels it deeply. A quiet boldness rises in you, a sense of readiness, a sense that you're standing on the threshold of something meaningful. This inner knowing is one of the clearest indicators that heaven has already issued the command. Your spirit is reacting to a shift that your eyes cannot yet see. And the sixth sign, peace returning to you in moments that used to trigger pain. This is one of the greatest confirmations that divine justice has begun. When you revisit memories, environments, or situations that once wounded you, the sting is gone. Not because you forgot, but because God has begun healing the root. Peace is the fruit of justice. When peace appears in places where pain once thrived, the scales are already moving. These signs may appear gently, like soft ripples before a great wave. But once you recognize them, you'll understand heaven is already working, and justice is already unfolding in your life. Even as justice begins its work, there will be challenges not to discourage you, but to strengthen you for what's coming. These challenges are not signs of failure or delay. They are signs that the shift is real. Whenever God brings balance, there is resistance from the very forces that once benefited from the imbalance. So do not misinterpret turbulence as something going wrong. In spiritual reality, turbulence often means something is finally going right. One of the first hidden challenges is the testing of your patience. Just as dawn does not appear all at once, justice unfolds in phases. You may see early signs, but still feel tension as you wait for full manifestation. This waiting period isn't punishment. It is God fortifying your spirit, teaching you to stand firm without wavering. Impatience weakens discernment, but patience sharpens it. You're not waiting because God is silent. You're waiting because the blessing He's preparing must be secured, not rushed. Another challenge that may arise is the resurfacing of old emotions. You may find yourself remembering past hurts, betrayals, or losses with unusual intensity. This isn't regression. It is the final purging before the healing settles fully. When God brings justice, He also brings closure. Sometimes closure requires facing what you tried to bury, not to reopen wounds, but to remove their power. The resurfacing is part of the release. You may also encounter unexpected opposition, not from strangers, but from familiar environments or familiar voices. When spiritual balance begins to shift, those who benefited from your silence, your humility, or your loyalty may react with discomfort. Some may try to pull you back into old roles. Others may attempt to provoke conflict or test your boundaries. This is not a setback. It is revelation. God is showing you where dishonor was hiding, so you won't carry it into your next season. Another hidden challenge is the temptation to retreat. When the atmosphere shifts, it can feel unfamiliar. Even positive change can be intimidating, because your spirit has grown accustomed to fighting, waiting, enduring. When justice finally arrives, it may feel too good to believe. You may question whether you deserve it, whether it's real, whether it will last. That hesitation is a residue of past wounds, not a reflection of your worth. God is breaking that hesitation so you can embrace what He's bringing. Finally, there is the spiritual quiet before the breakthrough. Right before the scales fully tip in your favor, you may experience unusual silence from heaven. Not absent silence. This is the sacred stillness before manifestation, a pause before the shift becomes visible. God often goes quiet right before He moves loudly. During this stillness, trust becomes your anchor. Your faith becomes your weapon. Your endurance becomes your testimony. These challenges are not barriers, they are bridges. They stretch you, refine you, and prepare you. They ensure that when justice arrives in full force, you are ready to receive it without fear, hesitation, or self-doubt. God is not testing your strength, He is revealing it. And every challenge you face during this transition is proof that something powerful is about to unfold. As the scales continue to shift, there are steps heaven is urging you to take, not out of fear, not out of striving, but out of alignment. Divine justice requires participation. God is moving on your behalf, but He also invites you to move with Him. These instructions are not obligations. They are pathways. They are ways to cooperate with the unfolding of what He has already declared. And each step carries spiritual weight, clearing the atmosphere around your destiny and strengthening the ground beneath your feet. The first instruction is to guard your heart with intention. When justice draws near, the enemy often attempts one final strategy: distraction through emotion. Old triggers may reappear. Old insecurities may whisper again. Old wounds may attempt to reopen. But this time, you are not to engage them the way you once did. You are to protect your inner space as if it were sacred ground, because it is. Guarding your heart now means choosing peace over conflict, silence over reaction, wisdom over impulse. Every time you resist chaos, you strengthen the justice that's unfolding. The second instruction is to release the need to clear your own name. This may be one of the hardest steps. When injustice has shaped parts of your story, there is a natural desire to explain yourself, defend yourself, or correct the narrative that others created about you. But God is telling you, step back. Allow me to be your defender. Allow me to bring the truth to the surface in my timing. When you stop fighting to be understood, you give heaven space to vindicate you with power. Let go of the need to prove anything. Justice is already speaking for you. The third instruction is to prepare for unexpected movement. When the scales tip, opportunities often arrive suddenly. Conversations open out of nowhere. People return with apologies or clarity. New environments begin calling you forward. Your spirit must remain open and flexible. Do not anchor yourself to what is familiar simply because it feels safe. Justice often leads to new paths, new positions, or new alignments. Make room in your mind and heart for change, a kind of change that elevates, stretches, and expands you. The fourth instruction is to stay anchored in gratitude. Gratitude is not a gentle emotion. It is spiritual architecture. It builds strength inside you. It shifts your focus from what hurt you to what healed you. It prepares you to receive without fear. When God begins restoring what was lost, gratitude becomes the vessel that holds the blessing. Without it, blessings can slip through your hands. Gratitude keeps your spirit open, humble, steady, and aligned with heaven's rhythm. The fifth instruction is to speak life into your circumstances. Your words carry spiritual resonance. When you speak from faith, you create paths for justice to travel. When you speak from fear, you reinforce the delays that once held you. Begin declaring what God has spoken over your life. Declare clarity. Declare restoration. Declare alignment. Declare movement, not from emotion, but from authority. Your words are tools heaven uses to build what is coming next. Speak with purpose. The sixth instruction is to stop entertaining environments that drain you. This is the season where alignment matters more than comfort. There are rooms you no longer belong in, conversations that no longer reflect your identity, connections that no longer support your purpose. You cannot receive divine justice while remaining tied to places that dishonor your spirit. Detach with grace, not bitterness. Allow God to reposition you without clinging to what He is trying to release you from. The seventh instruction is to return to stillness, not isolation, stillness. The kind of quiet where your heart becomes a listening ear again. Justice is not a single event, it is a sequence. And God will be speaking to you in waves, nudging you, guiding you, aligning you. Stillness allows you to hear the details, the whispers, the next steps. Carve moments in your day where you pause, breathe, and listen. It is in this stillness that God prepares you for the acceleration ahead. And the final instruction is this: expect goodness. Do not brace for disappointment. Do not wait for something to go wrong. You are not in the season of attack. You are in the season of restoration. Expect goodness to find you. Expect clarity to rise. Expect justice to unfold. Expect God to show Himself strong on your behalf. Your expectation becomes a magnet for what heaven is releasing. Hope is not wishful thinking. It is spiritual alignment with divine timing. These instructions are not burdens. They are invitations. They prepare you to receive justice without sabotage, fulfillment, without fear, and restoration without hesitation. God is not just balancing the scales. He's preparing you for the life that comes after they are balanced. And these steps ensure that when the fullness arrives, you are ready to walk in it with confidence and peace. And as you follow the path God is laying before you, understand this deeply: you are not walking into justice alone. Divine protection is surrounding you with a strength you may not fully comprehend yet, but you will soon feel the effects of it.